Hi, hello, how are you? Namaste, my dear friends. This is Mohammed Rafi, Faculty on Indirect Taxes. You are watching Rafi Sir, IDT Guru. Dear friends, now I am bringing to notice a very important circular number 236, issued by CBSE on 11th October 2024, regarding as is, where is. In the recent past, in the Finance Act 2024, the lawmakers has been used in many places as is, where is concept. What is this actually? It refers what? As is, where is to regularize the transactions of the past period. What do you mean this? In case of genuine transaction, my dear, for a given product, 5% rate applies, 12% rate applies. Some of the taxpayers paying 5% tax rate, some of the taxpayer paying the 12% tax rate for the same product. For example, in that case, upon the recommendation of GST Council, today the dispute got settled, clarified at a lower rate, let us say 5%. Prior to the rate of clarification, there are two different rates which is in place. In that case, will be settled as is, where is basis. How to understand this? We'll be explaining to you with the help of scenario 1, 2 and 3, taking into account illustrations issued by the CBIC to the department, field formation as well as the industry. Simplified manner presenting as follows. First of all, what do you mean by as is, where is? In the context of the GST law, as is, where is implies that tax paid at a lower rate or tax paid at nil rate as decided by the taxpayer in their returns is considered full discharge of their tax liability for the period prior to the clarification. Important point to note, for the period prior to the clarification. How it is? Simplified manner. Take a scenario, my dear. One scenario we will take. Scenario 1. In the given case, regularization of 5% and 12% rates. Take into account a simple example. There are two taxpayers. Taxpayer X, taxpayer Y. Taxpayer X paid 5% tax for a given product. For the same product, taxpayer Y paid 12%. Now, upon the recommendation of the GST Council, the rate decided as 5% only. In that case, before the date of clarification, taxpayer Y paid 12% tax, which he came to know that from today onwards, it is supposed to pay 5% only. In that case, whatever he paid in the previous period, prior to the date of clarification, excess rate of 7%, can he ask for refund? The GST Council said, no, it is decided as is, where is concept. Meaning what? Previously, if you paid excess, don't ask for refund. Previously, we paid lesser, we won't issue notice to recover the shortfall. Is the meaning of it as is, where is. Therefore, GST Council here said, upon the recommendation of GST Council, reducing the rate to 5% prospectively and regularizing the past on an as is, where basis. What do you mean this? Simple. Example, Mr. X taxpayer who paid the tax 5% fully discharged the GST. Even before the clarification, he paid 5%. Full amount of GST paid. Taxpayer Y, prior to the date of clarification, he paid 12% GST. Will be considered the full amount paid of GST. X is what he paid, 7%, namely 12% minus 5%, 7% differential amount. X is what he paid, refund not allowed. Because the matter has been decided, settled as is, where is basis. From today onwards, taxpayer X, taxpayer Y, both should have to pay for the given product at 5% GST only. Is it clear, my dear friends? Coming to the scenario number 2, regularization of 5% or exempt supply. For a given product or service, some of the taxpayer paying 5%. For the same product or same service, some of the taxpayers claiming exemption, because this ambiguity, whether 5% apply or it may be nil rate apply, some ambiguity. Taxpayer X paid 5% GST. For the same product or service, taxpayer Y claiming exemption. Now what happened? GST Council recommended by saying that 5% GST applicable from today onwards. So upon the recommendation of the GST Council, CBSE notified for a given product or service 5% applicable from today. What about prior to the date of this clarification, past period transactions? All those past period transactions will be treated as is where is basis. Meaning what? 5% taxpayer pay the tax 5% shown in the return, full amount of tax he paid. Taxpayer Y claim the exemption as if he paid the full amount of tax. Department officers should not issue any notice to Mr. Y because the past period transactions has been decided as is where is basis is the meaning of it. Meaning thereby the 5% GST for the previous period not paid by taxpayer Y not required to pay. From today onwards, taxpayer X, taxpayer Y should pay 5% GST as recommended by the GST Council. Is it clear, my dear friends? The same has been illustrated in the given example. Taxpayer Y not required to pay the differential amount of GST because he has been after the nil rate of GST, treating it as full amount of tax paid by Mr. X, because prior date of clarification the transaction is freezed as is where is basis. Further, my dear friends, the clarification here required is what? There is rate clarification, whether 5% apply or 12% apply for a given product or service. Here dispute is not exemption. Exemption is not a dispute. Only rate of tax difference, 5% or 12%. Let us take example. Taxpayer X for a given product, he paid 5% GST. Taxpayer Y for the same product, he paid 12% GST. The dispute is 5% or 12%. Clarification required whether it should be decided as 5% or 12%. Clarification not required for non-payment of tax. But taxpayer Z, here what he did here is, by saying 5%, 12% ambiguity, he not paid anything. Not paid anything. Now, GST Council recommended, saying that so and so given product will be decided at a 12% rate. In that case, taxpayer X paid for the given product 5%. Treating it as a full amount, he paid GST. Taxpayer Y already paid 12%. Now also GST recommended to pay 12%. He paid full amount of tax. So X and Y taxpayers are very good boys. Taxpayer Z, he has not paid any tax, which is not a genuine transaction. Therefore, CBSE clarified by saying that, hey Mr. Z, you have to pay 12% GST from the retrospective manner, from the day when you commence the supplies. You have to pay 12% GST. You got my points? So, this is what as is where is concept I brought to your notice in a simplified manner with the help of example. I give an example here by saying that taxpayer X paid the GST 5%, not required to pay differential amount of 7% for the past period because he paid something, genuine transaction. taxpayer Y liable to pay 12%, he also paid 12% for the past period. Very good buy. For the same product or service, the taxpayer Z not paid at all anything, means not a genuine transaction. Therefore, product or service supplied by such Mr. Z, applicable rate is 12%. Has to pay from the beginning, for the previous period. Before the clarification, what he has not been paid now has to pay 12%. From today onwards, upon the recommendation GST Council, Mr. X, Mr. Y, Mr. Z has to pay 12% GST. Got the clarity, my dear friends? Thank you to one and all.